was thinking to ask the first question to Mark, and it's a question about the evolution and growth of Connected Children over the years, how it evolved, if there were any changes in the scope, strategy, if you had to do any changes in these topics.
Okay, well, we started C4C from a model that was working in one country and then brought together other countries to expand that successful model. As we worked with other countries, we had to be clear about what we were doing, and we had to adapt to what each country is able to do. And now we have a system that works. We've got some tried and tested processes, and that's learnt from a lot of discussion. And now we're making it simple so that we've got a clear offer to multiple groups, both academic and industry. I think the evolution has come from the details. The basic idea has stayed the same, and the vision is the same as it was. It's just making sure we can deliver consistently across multiple countries.
And Luigi, how is the network being sustained at the end of the IMI funding?
So actually now we're in a very good position because we've set up the stichting, the foundation, and we still have 2 years before the grant ends. So we are in the position where we can use the grant money for the startup phase. And after that, actually, we should be able to be self-sustaining. So to use the revenues from the sales, so for the fees for the services and the membership fees, to pay for our costs and hopefully to generate some margin so that we can expand and we can have some co-funding for the whole network to guarantee its sustainability. But basically we are bootstrapping. So.
Okay. And Ricardo, from your perspective, how did the project engage with the pediatric community over the years? And what impact did it have along those almost 5 years?
Well, just in preparing for this General Assembly, I think I was trying to do a little bit of archaeology of the General Assemblies right from the beginning. And I think, as Mark was saying, I mean, the vision and the mission of c4c, it included the pediatric community up front, and that with a strong emphasis also in children and family. And I think it's always been the driver of c4c, right, to make sure that the pediatric community in this somewhat fragile and complex pediatric research ecosystem, the voice of the pediatric community was in there, a voice that would be wide enough to capture, most of the European countries involved, a voice that would obviously place a big emphasis on children and family and young people. I think things have evolved. I think the vision and mission has always been there. I think we've learned to work together, and we've learned how we had one example, a very successful national network. Others were evolving, others were born from c4c in terms of the national level networks. We've learned to work together with other beneficiaries and other stakeholders, and I think that makes us now much stronger in building on that pediatric community, continuing to iterate and to evolve and improve. And I think we can say pediatric community is a big part of c4c, and it will continue to be in the future.
Mark, I think a quite difficult question maybe, but what was for you the most challenging aspect into creating the new legal entity of c4c that we're going now towards to?
The most challenging aspect was bringing everyone together from different ways of working, industry, academia, research, administration, bringing them all together with a shared understanding of the commercial reality. Everybody had their own part of that vision, a bit like the elephant in the cave. Everyone could feel part of it, but learning what the whole elephant looked like of setting up a stichting in one country that met the needs of people in multiple countries, and bringing together that complete, concrete, commercial approach, I think, has been interesting, challenging, but ultimately successful.
And how did you ensure an effective communication with the project management team to overcome these challenges?
Lots and lots of time, lots and lots of patience, lots and lots of a listening attitude. What do people say? Big ears, small mouth. And we have some experts in our team who bring very clear contributions about how to work together. It's about giving those people a chance to share what they know and then build on that shared knowledge.
And Luigi, can you explain how the sustainability of a project like this can be built? What are the few steps that you take? Where do you start?
So actually, I think that we've been discussing this actually in these days. I think the key word is execution at the beginning. Although everyone thinks that money is a big deal, and money is a big deal, but I think that at the very beginning, to actually be able to be successful, execution is key. So the quality of the services and the value proposition should be very clear. The quality should be communicated effectively, so that the initial services can be sold and you can create a customer base which is partly already there. And as we are mainly relying at the moment on revenues that comes from sales, I think that addressing the needs of our customers with a commercial focus and a commercial mindset is the first step towards success, before all the politics takes place, actually.
And if you have, each one of you, to tell me a few lessons learned that you have during those past years, and maybe if there was something you would have done it differently. So maybe we can start with Ricardo.
Well, it's good that you asked, because I think one of the cornerstones of C4C has been lessons learned, right? And it will continue to be. Mark was mentioning how we've had to learn to work together with a lot of time. I think part of it was certainly as an academic coming in, I think it was about learning a terminology, learning a way to talk a new language in some cases. And so we had this network that I think as a whole matured. We had individual components of the network that are maturing, and we're working together so that actually the sum is greater than the parts, right? And part of it is learning our lessons. I think it's working with our industry colleagues and learning their requirements, learning where their needs can be addressed and where some of our flexibility can fit in, and where flexibility needs to be contained, because there are some ways and some processes that we've developed on how to provide expert advice, how to provide trial support, and we have to stick by these processes that were developed. I think other lessons is to understand what we can add to a certain project, where our key value proposition, as Luigi was saying, is. And I think at this point, I think there's still a lot of room to improve, right? And we can build on these different pieces of the puzzle of this network that we have right now: trial support, expert advice, education, data, and see where, put them together in a way that fits whoever is coming to us, be them commercial industry sponsor, be them an academic sponsor, and try to provide the best service we can in the best way and fit for purpose for that request.
I think for me a big lesson is about how to fit the accountability that's needed for commercial execution into the academic setting that we have at the moment. And as we've gradually learnt what the commercial execution looks like for our services, we've gradually learnt how to hold each other to account and be responsible for what we're doing. I think that needs to expand, and we need to find a way to continue to collaborate in a way that brings the spirit of the paediatric community, but also delivers what customers need. And I think that's an ongoing dynamic that's going to be very interesting. We need to make money to sustain, to pay people salaries. We need to meet customers' needs. And we need to remember the basic vision, which is to see that children get better medicines because of the services that we offer. And putting those together is just an interesting, challenging piece of work, and we look forward to it.
Luigi?
Actually, I think I agree with them actually, and I believe that patience was really one of the biggest challenges, because there's a need, it's such a complex ecosystem and environment with so many different stakeholders coming from very different backgrounds, that what you need to do is to try to to manage to have everything and everybody on board and to have them aligned. And where you have people from pharma that believe that they are basically creating a new green field, I don't know, in Brazil, with the budgets that pharma usually have, and people from academia instead that you are only focused on science sometimes, and so they really want to do good science, and maybe they're not interested in the commercial part of it. And you need to merge them and to bring them together to take the best of both worlds in a way, and that requires a lot of patience and clarity in communication, and I would say also, as Mark was saying, you need to listen to them.
If we can do one more round with a little bit more positive question on what is maybe the achievement that you enjoyed the most, let's say, during those years, and also the goals that you still have until the end of the project.
Is that for me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think, is it the first session of tomorrow is the journey so far, and I think we've again, archaeology of General Assembly slides, but I think we've always had an achievement slide. And that slide has grown, I think, outsized the slide deck. And curiously, or not that surprisingly, I think it takes often people coming in from other areas or not being that acquainted with C4C to tell the whole consortium, well, actually, you've achieved a lot. I think all of us working, all the consortium working very hard every day, we're so ingrained into making this even better that sometimes it takes one step back to say, well, you've achieved a lot, and certainly I think the consortium has achieved really a lot in different fields of activities, and so I think everyone will have within any of their beneficiaries, work packages, experiences of that, so I think that should be valued. If the question is more personal, on a personal note, I think for me it's been an extraordinary, unique, privileged experience. I came from slightly different fields, but with an eye on some of the work that C4C was doing. I think what's exciting, though, is that there's so much to do still. So be it in the next 3 years of the consortium, be it through the Stichting, the new legal entity, there's great potential to continue developing all these activities, putting some of these together, knowing where to put some of the amazing work that some people within the consortium have done. I think that's it, at least from my end.
I'm actually preparing those achievement slides in between interviews for tomorrow.
Oh, I was wondering. Okay, I've made this.
It looks quite nice.
Yeah.
So we've achieved mission impossible. When we started this 5-6 years ago, people said to me, yeah, good idea, you must be an idealist, that's never going to happen. And yet now we have 3 or 4 services that we know will work, that we know are useful. We need to market those services, we need to deliver those services, but we have some solid, consistent services that will help advance drug development and development of other products for children and young people. So we need to be confident about what we can do and work together to deliver it consistently, because that seemed impossible to many people 5 years ago.
Actually, I've been only recently involved directly in the project, so some months ago. So I wasn't there when the project started, and actually was amazed at the level of the ability of managing such a complex consortium, and also I was speaking with pharma colleagues, and I really understood that there was a value add for them, and I think this shouldn't be taken for granted. So I think this is really an achievement to be able to generate something concrete that can be perceived from your future customers as a value add for them. And on a more concrete note, I think one of the challenges is to be able to open a bank account for the Stichting, and I think we are getting there. So I'm really very happy about it, very happy about it.
So we discussed now the future of Connected Children, but I'm also curious to know a bit how it started. So we interviewed Sabah just before, and she was mentioning that when she started to be involved, you were writing the grant, Mark, and you said it was Mission Impossible just earlier. So tell me the story on how it started and how it became such a big project.
Well, the C4C started when some industry colleagues came to visit our working network in England, and they could see that was useful and provided value to investigators, both academic and industry. So they had the idea that we could spread this concept to other countries, and we spent some time setting up something similar in the US, and then became aware of the grant opportunity with the Innovative Health Initiative, or with the Innovative Medicines Initiative, to have a public-private partnership. So it's about spreading good practice, it's about spreading ways of working together, and we spent some time looking for like-minded people across Europe, and it's a fairly self-selecting group of people who want to collaborate and who can deliver on the work that's needed. And once we'd brought that group together, it was a question of learning, of jargon busting, of thinking through the concepts. Sometimes that took a short while. It took us a year to decide what a standard operating procedure would look like for the network, given people's different ideas about what SOPs are like. But there was that consolidation phase, and then the service delivery phase, and most recently we've had the service execution phase across multiple studies and multiple requests for advice. And now we're ready to scale up. Once we have the Stichting's facilities in place, we can scale up and reach out to broader audiences.
And Ricardo, from your perspective, how was Portugal involved in the project?
Well, I guess I can speak to Portugal, but I guess we have all these 20 national hubs in different countries, and that the networks were at different levels of maturity, and when they came into C4C, some existed, others were in the process of just being created, and others were just born because of C4C. That was the case in Portugal, though I personally was orbiting some of these networks, including previous iterations of one of the networks, not in the UK, but also being aware of the work in the UK, which was driving us. There was a vision there, there was an execution there were metrics, certainly very successful, and many of us were looking at that. Portugal came on board as we don't have a very pragmatic perspective, and some of our colleagues were also in that space. So we don't have a network, and there is a slide in our first GA in Berlin that the project leadership had, which was, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I think some of our partners and ourselves too were very aware of that. This is indeed a lifetime opportunity to build a coherent, cohesive network, learning from others. So that's where some of the countries came in, and others had built some of their networks recently, and were looking to see if they could implement a similar model and work together and share and learn. That was a little bit our starting point in Portugal, and I think all of us have evolved a lot, and I think we've been shaping what's interesting is whatever the background of some of the leads and some of the staff of these individual networks was, and whatever their academic work and achievements and backgrounds, we've all worked and shaped our evolution in ways that are different but have a lot of things in common, certainly in terms of what we provide as a service, and that's something that we need to continue working on, having a consistent service delivery to support the trials, but also in how we approach the pediatric research ecosystem nationally, so engaging stakeholders, making the voice of young children at a national level being heard, engage training around pediatric research, and particularly engaging our sites. So a lot of diversity within the different networks, but a lot of common work, and I think that's one of the key strengths of the network, right? Different people, slightly different backgrounds, but now working together, a common project, and some activities that they do that enriches the project.
I would like to finish by asking you to choose one word to describe Connected Children. So what would it be if you have to choose only one word? When you're ready. It's difficult, but...
See if we don't choose the same words, right?
One, two,
Yeah.
all together.
I'd say effective.
Visionary.
I'd go for collaboration.
Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, I will leave you to all the other meetings